Today I'm going to unbag and take a look at all the contents that are in this bag here, including a page through of the C3i magazine. This is number 37. It's from RBM Studio, which is Roger B. McGowan publication, and this is the latest from RBM Studio, the latest C3i, and they have stepped up their game. There is even more stuff in this bag than usual. I've covered a few of these, or I have several of these, but I've filmed a few of these. I'll put a link to that in the description if you want to see all the C3i magazine stuff. C3i is a war game magazine. It is somewhat dedicated. I don't know if we would call it a house engine, but or house organ, but it is basically tied a lot to GMT games. There's usually a counter sheet in here that is solely dedicated to GMT games, although GMT games is now starting to issue their own counter sheet or correction counter sheets. A lot of times the counter sheets that come in C3i are corrections or additions or alternatives or are optional type stuff that goes along with GMT games. This magazine is going to have that, but it's also going to have counters for the games that are inside. There's, if I'm not mistaken, there's at least 2, if not 3 games inside here, plus scenarios, options, alternative rules. There's always a bunch of that comes in C3i magazine, along with, a magazine. There's a war game magazine. It's going to talk about war games and from other publications in addition to GMT games, and articles and history and the like. But enough of all that. Let's see what's in here. And I'll probably break out the individual games into individual pieces. I'll probably just do when I get a chance. As I said, I'm traveling, but I'll probably do just standalone videos for some of the more prominent content that's in here. Let's go in a little bit closer so you can see what's in here. So you get the magazine, which is very shiny, glossy, thick cover and back. And then it's going to be full color in the inside of it, but we'll do a page through of that right after we see what's in here. So this is one of the featured games that is in here. It's the Betis campaign 211 BC. Rome's Scipio brothers strike into Punic Hispania. This is a Dan Forney game, and it's its own game design, I believe. It is. I think if I'm not mistaken, it might draw from Mark Herman's series. Let's see what it says. Introduction. I thought it might do that. I thought it was kind of a take of Mark Herman's, which is his series that started off with Gettysburg and then Napoleon, and then now Rebel Fury, but I think this is taking it to the Ancients realm. I believe that's the case. Let's see here. Yeah, not certain here. Maybe I'm completely wrong with that. So, well, we'll dive into that and we'll find out. Game system design, Mark Herman. So there you go. Maybe I am right there. So I'll do a standalone for this, but you're going to get the rules, you're going to get a map, and you're going to get counters. You're also going to get some player aids in there as well, but I'll spend time on that in a separate piece. Then you have the Spanish Road, which is a solitaire game, and this was kind of an interesting for me because I do enjoy solitaire games, and this one looked relatively interesting. This is the 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648, and I think this is going to have like a point-to-point and cards that help drive the game, I believe, or maybe it's more of a card game. We'll see. But you have the rules in here. Again, I will do a separate piece on this. Here is the map, which we'll take a look at in a separate piece. And then you got the cards that go along with it. I believe these are the cards that go along with it. Maybe not. Oh no, these are the bonus cards that go along with Red Flag Over Paris. So if you own Red Flag Over Paris, there's like some optional stuff that comes along with that game that comes in there. Okay, so there's some more stuff that's in here. Then we got a scenario in here, the Battle of Castillo, 211 BC. So it kind of fits in that same time period as the Betis campaign game. But this is for SPQR Deluxe, which is Great Battles of History system. And they usually always have a big scenario in here. And then this is the simple Great Battles of History scenario for that. So you can play the advanced or the regular or the simple if you want to do that in here. Then we have yet another game. There's 3 games in here. This is James Dunnigan's The Drive on Metz, 1944. And I believe the last time this was published was in Victory Point Games. I might even have the Victory Point Games one, but when I cover this separately, I'll see if I can pull that out and take a look at it. But this is a different version of it, or a new version of it, with all your charts on their map, and there'll be counters, of course, in here as well. And then we've got, this is a alternate for Twilight Struggle. This is the James Bond or 007 variant cards. I might actually do a separate episode on just this one. Gonna get a lot of content out of this bag here. But there are some cards you can put in there for that game. And then you get the counters that go along with it. Again, these are the counters for the Betis campaign. There's going to be some of the counters for that Great Battles of History scenario. There's going to be some correction counters in here. These are probably going to be the Drive on Metz. Is that what this is? Yes. This is the Spanish Road counter. So you got 1, 2, 3 sets of counters that are just for the games that are in here. These are alternative counters for Gettysburg. They changed the art when they went to Rebel Fury, and I've done an unboxing of that, and I'll plan to do an after action report. They changed the art from Gettysburg to new art in Rebel Fury, which is a collection of 6 battles from the American Civil War. So they went back and pulled the art from Rebel Fury, the current art, and so did the counters for Gettysburg. So if you want to play Gettysburg with the original counter art or with this new counter art, which is kind of more indicative of the system and where it's going, then you can do that. And then these are double-sided as well, and they're nice, thick, standard kind of GMT counters. So there you go. That is all the goodies that are in here, which are quite the load that you get in here. And then again, I'll do separate. So I got at least 3 videos out of this, maybe 4. I don't have Red Flags Over Paris, at least not yet. So I might hold off on doing something on that. But that's all the thick content that's in here. Now let's take a look at the magazine and see what we have in here. So this is going to be typical C3i magazine format. Here's your table of contents. You got some regular features, and then they're going to go into all the main articles. Then they're going to talk about the inserts, and here's all the stuff we just covered. All the goodies and inserts and content that comes along with this in the bag is described here. Let's look at some of the quick page through of the articles. We have Mark Herman's Chloe's Corner, number 14. This is a regular from Mark Herman, and talking about the Battle of Midway, or the good, bad, and the ugly. I always enjoy his articles because it gives you the designer's perspective on gaming or simulating different operations and battles. Then we've got, and you can see it's triple column. Font is not huge, which means that there's a lot of content in here to get to. Here is an article by Voko Runke, Denial and Deception in War Games. Should be interesting what he covers here. And he usually does kind of a survey of games. He looks at kind of the genre or how different games model stuff. And so it looks like he's got Pacific War here, and you might have some other kind of games that he's going over. And here is Denial and Deception game mechanics. Let's go a little bit closer on that chart. That looks very interesting here. Screens, logs, counters, blocks, cards, and other. And this aspect here to me is, and I haven't read this article yet because I just unbagged this in front of you all. Those kind of mechanics tend to stray away from or detract from like solitaire play, unless you build in a mechanic that mimics the deception, which, like counters that you have to flip over or something like that. But normally, screens and logs and stuff like that denote that it's a two-player game, or at least a two-player game, because there's hidden information in there. But anyway, I'll go into this article, but this is interesting. I like how they reduce some of the concepts into charts, and so you can kind of get a quick look and see what the whole topic is covering there. Then keeps on going on with the article, and talking about all kinds of different games in there. Let me pull out a bit so you can see both pages there. Quite a long article. We got another chart here. We've got Denial and Deception game exemplars. And here's some of the games they're talking about, and then what features they have. Do they use screens, logs, counters, blocks, cards, and then the comments on that. This is definitely going to be a must-read article for me, which is most of the game here. Then we have new thoughts on Allied opening strategy from Mark Herman, Empire of the Sun. There's usually an Empire of the Sun article in these games. It's a very deep simulation. It is something that I haven't got to the table as much as I wanted to or want to, but it is kind of in my opinion, the kind of go-to game for Pacific theater. There's so much going on in here, and the way that it's with the cards and it's a hex and counter game, but there's so much more going on in the system. And there's also a couple of different solitaire systems to it as well, or at least a solitaire system that was kind of updated in a reprinting. And it's just something that it's very challenging. It's overall, the game is not that complex, but it takes such a different perspective on how to simulate this theater that it's for your dyed-in-the-wool hex encounter or grognard. Takes a little bit getting into. It's not necessarily intuitive, but the system again is not that complex, but it takes a little bit getting into, and you gotta play it more than just a couple of times to really understand the mechanics. But that's just me babbling on right there. So there's some thoughts on that. So this is more of a strategy piece here. Then we've got a look at Little Old Watchmaker, how James F. Dunnigan changed the wargame industry. Oh, this is interesting. So this is kind of a historical article here on the wargaming history of wargaming itself. I like that. Discord at Gettysburg. Okay. The Spanish Road. Just going to talk about that a little bit. That's one of the games that is in here. Here is the, looks like this is the alternative or variant for Red Flag over Paris. So that's in here. Talks about that variant. Those are those cards you saw in there. Then we have Twilight Struggle, the Cold War movies. And again, this probably leads into those cards, those James Bond cards that are in there, the 007 variant cards. So this is interesting. And, I do a segment from time to time, and Kilroy Goes to the Movies. I might do a separate segment on just this article and talk a little bit about this in one of those segments. Hey, there you go, man. What am I going to get, like 5 different segments out of one bag? All right, here is that Battle of Castillo. This is that scenario for SPQR Deluxe, or Great Battles of History. And so you've got some background on that. And there's going to be some counters in there, as we saw, for that as well. Here is Total Barbarossa, the Russian campaign. So this is a what if campaign for Deluxe 5th edition, which is cool, and I've covered that. Again, I haven't done an after action report on that, but I have done an unboxing. Might put a link to that in the description as well. There's going to be a lot of links to a lot of different stuff in the description down below. So take a look at that. So this should be interesting to dive into this. And we got an interview, Ted Kohler. Cool. A little bit more history of wargaming there. Then we got, these are the designer games. These are games that come out of C3i. They've games that they, you know, of course, have added in here. C3i is now doing excuse me, a deluxe bookcase edition. So you'll get a box instead of just getting it in a magazine, and I put them in like a see-through folder. Now you can get a box to go along, a box version of this, which will have all the contents and then, you know, the player aids and everything. It's more of a, you know, it's a full board game in a box, not a board game in a bag. Then we have Desert Victory. This is a playthrough. Okay, looks interesting there. So you get a full playthrough of that. And that was in C3i, what was that, 36? Yeah, 36. I believe I did that one. I'll have to look. If I did, I'll put a link to it. I probably did, but you never know. Sometimes I get behind. And there you have it. That is, and they got an ad for the Betas campaign right there. So there you have it. That is C3i number 37 with all the goodies that go along with it. Looks really good. Looks very interesting. A lot of content in there. 3 games. Now I know the price of this is starting to ramp up a little bit. It's more expensive than what it has been, but it's really not that much more expensive compared to some of the other war game magazines, at least if you don't get a subscription. But there is quite a bit of content in here. You get, as I said, you get 3 games, and normally in those other war game magazines you get 1 game. And plus there's a lot of variants and other content in here. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoy this. Leave your comments down below if any of this interests you, any of those games interest you, any of those variants, any of those scenarios. Anything about the content of this, or the articles themselves, feel free to drop in the comments down below. Love to hear from you. Anyway, thanks all. Take care. Thanks for watching.